How did you accidentally end up owning a property management company?
It is a wonderful business. The recurring revenue is fantastic. It opens up a lot of avenues for other revenue streams. Frankly, the thing that surprised me the most was how easy it is to actually grow.
How do you actually get paid as a property manager? Like, what's a typical management fee?
We get our property management fee every month, which is 10%. Marketing and leads really is not the constraint. We've been in business less than 3 years, but we've grown 100% plus year over year. So it's not sunshine and rainbows.
Not passive.
Not passive.
Yeah.
Owners are gonna be stressed. You're gonna deal with tenant issues. It's very unsexy. Someone ran a scam where they locked in 5 leases all at the same time. Then they submitted rent with a fake account. The funds come in and then you go, okay, here's the keys.
Right.
And then the money gets pulled out of your bank account.
There's a massive winter storm in Nashville. It was a total disaster for you guys. And at that moment, rather than sit there and complain, what you did was actually call some of your competitors to say, you guys want to sell. And I just think that's like the perfect moment to do it.
Our average door after property management fee and tenant placement fees makes us $225 a month. So if you're doing really good in property management, 30%, there's 50 things you have to do. And if you do 49 of them well, but you mess up just one, all hell breaks loose.
I'm here with Jake. He owns a property management company in Nashville, Tennessee. He's going to tell us exactly how the business works, how much money you can make, and why he's done building from scratch, but actually starting to buy businesses instead. Jake, good to be here with you, my friend.
Let's go.
So I know you're in real estate, but how did you accidentally end up owning a property management company?
Yeah, so when I first got into real estate, I was working with a lot of investors and I kept referring out property management companies. And every single time my clients would come back and say, they screwed this up, they made a mistake here, they're not responding. And finally, they just convinced me to start managing them myself once they found out that I actually had my own properties and I was managing them myself.
Yeah, so it's smart. So you now understand what the customer's pain points are, you understand how you can fix it, you can provide a better solution, and you can offer it to them yourself and you can make that money. So that's awesome. So how did you get your first customer then?
Yeah, so I just went around to my existing customers and I just said, hey, we are officially managing properties, and instantly 4 people raised their hand. They said, finally, I've been waiting, great. So in the first week of business, we brought on 4 clients and just got into it right from the get-go. I had to figure out the contracts, had to figure out the tech. I mean, I managed my own properties, but never for anyone else. So I had to get all that figured out, but it was pretty straightforward.
Interesting. So what's one thing that surprised you the most when you got into the business?
Frankly, the thing that surprised me the most was how easy it is to actually grow. It's very, very easy. I mean, you know this very well. Every business has sort of a different constraint.
Right.
In property management, marketing and leads really is not the constraint.
Yeah.
So as soon as I said I manage properties, we just started getting a flood through of leads, so much so that we've been in business less than 3 years, but we've grown 100% plus year over year.
And have you paid for any of those leads, or have it all been organic?
Very few of them, maybe 6% of our leads came from paid.
Okay. And what did you, in your mind, what did you think property management was versus what it actually is?
I had an advantage because my parents were investors when I was a teenager. I started buying properties before I got my real estate license, so I fully knew what it meant to actually manage properties. What I didn't understand was dealing with the level of anxiety that owners have when their properties are vacant, because I'm a little bit of a, relaxed sort of demeanor, and being like, oh my gosh, they're really anxious about these vacancies. That surprised me a little bit, but it makes complete sense.
Yeah, so walk me through, what is it you actually do as a property management owner? What happens in the day-to-day? What is it you do?
Yeah, so I break property management into an acronym called MMA. It is marketing, marketing, maintenance, and accounting, right? So we are marketing long-term rentals and short-term rentals, getting people in the door. We're making sure that the place is not falling apart and that people are happy to live there. And then we're accounting very accurately to make sure that the owner knows where every penny's going.
Okay. I'm a big UFC and MMA fan, so I like the analogy. I like the acronym. So how do you actually get paid as a property manager? What's a typical management fee?
So if we're looking at a long-term rental, well, we get paid in two different ways. Now, you can actually make money in a bunch of ways, but we keep it very simple for our owners. We get our property management fee every month, which is 10%. Sometimes we work out deals if we're bringing on numerous stores, but our baseline is 10%. We don't get paid until we actually have someone in the unit, right? So some property managers charge vacant unit fees. We don't do that. Our value proposition is we don't get paid until you get paid. However, getting a tenant in oftentimes takes a lot of legwork, a lot of research, a lot of showings. So we charge a tenant placement fee of half of 1 month's rent. Right? So we get that fee once we place someone, happens once every 12 months, and then we charge our monthly management fee. And then from a short-term rental perspective, we get paid just on the nightly rate. That's the only way that we make money. So if someone stays in the Airbnb and they pay $1,500 before taxes and cleaning fees, we get our fee off of the nightly rate.
So you're taking the 10%. So what's an average yearly or monthly revenue that one of your clients might see?
So in Nashville, our average rent is $2,000 a month. Right, we've got some beautiful places like where we are, where we're getting $3,600 a month. But some of our places are, small 1-bed, 1-baths. $1,200 a month is what we're getting in rent. So on average, it ends up being $2,000. So our average door, after property management fee and tenant placement fees, makes us $225 a month.
And then what's a typical margin, like net margin to the bottom line? Because that's what you're making revenue. But what about like net to the bottom line? You're paying out employees, I assume. There's very little cost of goods sold. Like what's an approximate net margin? Yeah,
so if you're doing really good in property management, 30%. We're right about there, but the baseline that you can expect is about 25%. It's a little interesting because so many property management companies just have owner-operators. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to figure out, well, what exactly is the profit? But yeah, we budget for 25%. We hope for 30%. And yeah, as you said, the biggest cost in property management is personnel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an attractive business model. A lot of people come to me wanting to buy property management companies because, number one, like you said, they can be high margin, but number two, they're also recurring. So you're getting this recurring cash flow every month, and as a consumer or as your end customer is probably not going to change their customer, who they're using for property management every month. It's kind of a mess to change that. So they're going to want to probably stick with who they're using, which keeps your churn rate pretty low. Has that been your experience? Absolutely, yeah. So the thing with property management is it's a very low quality business. There's a lot of people that kind of accidentally got into property management and frankly, they don't do a very good job. I'll also say it's hard to do a good job. There's 50 things you have to do, and if you do 49 of them well, but you mess up just one, all hell breaks loose. But in our industry, what you can expect is an average churn of 10% a year. Which is pretty high. Right? Over the past couple of years, we've calculated our churn to be around 2%.
Amazing.
Which is something we're extremely proud of.
And what do you attribute that to?
Doing a good job. It's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's again, making sure the place isn't falling apart and then just communicating with the owners. I was actually speaking with one of our clients and he said that he didn't hear back from his prior property manager for 3 months.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. So, we talked before this and you and I got coffee together and you had some pretty hilarious, we'll call them war stories. Is there anything like that you want to share on camera today that you're able to talk to me about? Yeah, so, what can I talk about? So, with long-term rentals and short-term rentals, they're very different businesses. They're almost not even the same business. I'll tell you one story from each. So from long-term rentals, we actually dealt with something recently where someone ran a scam where they locked in 5 leases all at the same time. So their credit was good and everything looked good. So they locked in 5 leases at the same time. Then they submitted rent with a fake account. But the thing is the technology doesn't catch it right away. So the funds come in and then you go, okay, here's the keys. And then the money gets pulled out of your bank account. Wow. They never paid a penny and they're running 5 scams at once. And I think that they were actually renting it out to their friends for a discount. So we just dealt with that and, when you have a mortgage and no one's paying rent, then you have to go through evictions. It's quite awful. I could talk about some things with short-term rentals, but it might not be appropriate
for camera.
Yeah, maybe after this we'll have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
There was another thing that we talked about, which was how you and I first connected, which was a talk about a kind of a roll-up strategy and looking at, like I alluded to in the beginning of the video, rather than trying to continue building organically, you kind of go inorganic route, which is through acquisition. And there was one really funny moment that you had, which you told me. There was a massive storm, just for you guys to know. We're shooting this in March. There was a massive winter storm in Nashville a couple months ago. And luckily I was in Florida. We didn't have the snow falling. We had iguanas falling from trees. We didn't have any snow. But one thing that you told me that was funny was that it was a total disaster for you guys, for all property managers, getting a bunch of calls. And at that moment, rather than sit there and complain, what you did was actually call some of your competitors to say, you guys want to sell. And I just think that's like the perfect moment to do it, because every business owner, myself included, at some point you're like, I should just quit this and go back to my 9 to 5. So that was like just a hilarious moment, perfect timing for it. Love the anecdote. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, you know, the nature of our business is that so many of these property management companies pop up because someone gets a real estate license, they're selling some real estate, they go, I'm going to get some recurring revenue. Pick up a few properties, then they just, like I said, it's really easy to grow. They start growing and they start realizing managing 5 properties is a headache. Managing 50, 60 properties is a massive headache, and it starts to get to a point where you can't do it by yourself. So now you're not a property manager, now you have a company where you have employees, and it's a business that you are dealing with all the headaches, right? You're never calling with good news. I have clients that have jokingly said to me, you know, back when you were just my agent, every time my phone rang, you had a deal for me.
Right.
Now when my phone rings, you got a problem that I got to spend $3,000 to fix.
Sorry.
Yeah, so for that reason, and I believe it's about 30% of property management companies in the entire country are actually like a true like professional company.
Yeah.
Right, it's just mom and pop outside of there. So yeah, so there's all these companies, you know, property management companies that go in and out of business. So yeah, I've been reaching out to folks and just saying, hey, we've kind of figured out how to do it. If you want an exit, get a little bit of cash, we're happy to take it on. Like I said, we're not reinventing the wheel here, right? I could take on your property management company tomorrow, figure out some tech, some personnel changes, we'd be fine.
And integrate it, Okay, so on the topic of roll-ups, this is a private equity strategy that you could steal for millions of dollars. And so I want to present you with 2 different roll-ups, and I want to kind of get your take on it. And so the first one is very much the tried and true private equity method, which is to say this is the difference between a sort of a horizontal versus a vertical acquisition and integration. And the first one would be this. Very simple. There's 2 different property management companies. They're both $500,000 in EBITDA. Standalone, they might trade for, let's say, 3.5 times. But businesses together, you integrate them, you connect the back office. That business is now doing $1 million in EBITDA. It now might trade for 4.5 times EBITDA. Essentially what you've done is arbitraged $1 million. And so that's like the tried and true private equity method. The second roll-up method would be this. As a property manager, a lot of times you might be taking calls on maintenance and replacements, and I assume you might be dealing with different trades businesses, contractors, things like roofing companies, HVAC, perhaps plumbing. And is there any moral gray area to say, why couldn't you just acquire an HVAC company yourself or a roofing contractor yourself and you perform that work? Is that a moral gray area, or do you think that's another good potential roll-up strategy?
I wouldn't say it's a moral gray area because they are necessary services, and if someone trusts you to manage their property, then it would make a lot of sense that they would trust you to take care of the other elements to it. I'll say furthermore that when it comes to the, you know, like I said, $225 a month is what we make on our long-term rentals. That's not that much, right? We ourselves, we have a strategy where I actually own a separate cleaning company, and our cleaning company cleans our units. Now, we are trying not to get too big for our britches, but when I was speaking with some really big property managers, they were telling me that yes, they did open up a contracting wing, because again, a lot of that stuff is, if it's rent readiness, those kind of things, many times you'll have a contractor that knows how to do the contracting work, but is gosh awful at the business side of what they do. So you can actually assist your contractors in being more professional, and you can have a hand in ownership of the company that's taking care of these items so that things aren't falling through the cracks.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love the idea of turning your cost center into a profit center. So I think that's a really, really smart strategy. So I've worked with and helped people buy and sell several different property management companies. Some of them have been LTR, so long-term rentals, some short-term. I've even done some work with condos and HOAs, even commercial properties. So there's a ton of different options. They're all very different, but I'd love to hear kind of your take on the difference between short-term rental long-term rental, what the difference is, and which one you prefer.
Yeah, that's a really great question. They're almost two entirely different businesses, not only from how the business works, but even from a regulatory perspective. So long-term rentals are tried and true, right? That's what we know. And this is where the regulatory environment is very strict about what you can do and cannot do. But very much of what you're doing is, hey, it's every single day, you're not touching every single property. When it comes to short-term rental, it's much more of a mini hotel, and hotels are some of the only businesses that are 24/7. So you or your team needs to be available, or some sort of tool needs to be available to assist. It's much more of a hospitality company than an actual property management company. You know, our best employees and contractors for our short terms actually came from the hospitality world, came from hotels, came from restaurants, because there's a high element of that to that degree. But our best long-term property managers and those associated with that side of the company, those are folks that are really great at dotting I's, crossing T's, which are very different skill sets. Here's a really interesting thing. Most short-term rental property management companies in Nashville don't actually have their managing broker's license, and most of them aren't even licensed as realtors, because you don't have to, right? All you need is a certification, and that's all you need. Versus if you're gonna have a property management company that does long-term, anything 30 days or more, you actually need to have a managing broker to supervise the activities and the contracts. So there's so many short-term rental property management companies in Nashville. What's really cool about us is because I am a managing broker and I have my own office, we can do both. So during the slow season for short-term rentals, which is December to February, if it makes sense, we can actually switch a short-term rental to a mid-term rental, 2 to 3 months, to make sure that the owner's still getting their bills paid.
So that's another reason for someone to choose you.
Absolutely.
So we're in Nashville, which is kind of like the bachelorette capital of the nation, at least it has been for the last several years. Do you find that a lot of these short-term rentals happen to be bachelorettes? Or who's kind of the demographic?
100%. 100 million percent. It's bachelorettes, bachelor, wedding parties. Here's the thing people don't realize, because you think, what's busy season for short-term rentals? You think spring and summer. And that's true. They are busier than the winter time. Sure. But our biggest months are September, October, and November. Every single year for short-term rentals. People don't realize Nashville is a massive wedding destination. Yeah. I used to actually DJ weddings, and I was shocked at how many people would come from all over the country. So those folks that are coming here for the weddings, and again, the bachelorette parties, are doing that for the end of the year, or maybe a month before their wedding. And when's the biggest wedding season? Fall time. So yeah, it's a massive destination for that. What's really interesting is sometimes clients are worried, because I tell them it's a party town. Right? They go, it's a
Broadway.
Yeah,
of course.
They go, it's a party town. People are going to throw parties, and I go, no. They don't. They're not throwing parties in your house. No. They're pre-gaming, and then they're going to Broadway. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our clients, when they first get into it, think their place is going to get beat up. Yeah. It only really gets beat up from people dragging their suitcases up the stairs and scuffing them up.
Just Google Broadway at night videos, and you'll quickly learn where they go. That's awesome. Was there anything else that you would say to someone who either wants to potentially start or buy a property management company? Any advice for them?
Yeah, it is a wonderful business. The recurring revenue is fantastic. It opens up a lot of avenues for other revenue streams. However, if you think it's going to be sunshine and rainbows, it will not be. You are dealing with things that, if someone owns a property as an investment property, they can manage it. Why do they hire us? Because they don't want to deal with it. Right. So anytime you're in a business where you're doing something that someone could do, they just don't want to do, get ready for some headaches. Yeah. So it's not sunshine and rainbows.
Not passive.
Not passive. Owners are going to be stressed. You're going to deal with tenant issues. Today I was dealing with eviction stuff. It's very unsexy, at least from long term. Short term's much sexier, admittedly. But yeah, it is a wonderful business. I'm really glad that I got into it. I'm involved in a few things, but property management's one of the things I'm most excited about its growth.
Okay, I love it, man. And how can people find you?
Yep, check me out on Instagram. That's the place where you can find me the most. It's at Jake Gomes Official, and you can see all the stuff that I do there.
I love it. Jake, good to see you again, my friend.
Thanks, Doug.